Welcome back. Welcome back, not Auburn, not welcome back Auburn. Welcome back Taylor Corn battling the flu. It's her flu game. We missed one recorded basketball show, but we made it back for the live games tonight on a historic night. Hydrating, everyone hydrating. First, before we check on your Auburn Tigers who just beat Vandy 80-68, how are you doing? Everybody wants to know.
I'm good. It's been a rough past few days. My thoughts and prayers go out to all of you who get the flu this season because it has not been fun, but we're here. We're back, and I'm on the come up.
Yep. Auburn's back as well. Can I just go Cheney Johnson, Cheney Johnson, Cheney Johnson? Give me your reactions from the perform. He didn't lead in scoring, Denver did, but Cheney Johnson tonight to me is the talk of the game, and possibly, as Fishback kept saying, maybe the talk of the rest of this season.
Yeah, he deserves to be the talk of the game, and I think that's because the start of the second half, Auburn didn't look like themselves. They started hot. They had a 15-0 run to start the game, but they didn't look like themselves, and things were getting kind of iffy heading into halftime. And he put up points when Auburn needed them. He reignited the fire. He was the spark plug. And he went on, I believe it was a 9-0, maybe a 10-0 run alone
Yep.
about halfway through, maybe probably a little closer to the start of the second half. And Auburn needed it badly because they seemed to be in a little bit of a rut. So he stepped up when his team needed him. I mean, he was not missing shots. He ended the night 9 of 10 from the field with 20 points. He had 5 rebounds, only 1 foul. Incredible game by Chaney.
Yeah, 9 of 10. You can't say that enough. 9 of 10, and they weren't all layups. I mean, you hit midway jumpers, putbacks, hit 1 3. His only miss was a three-point attempt. So he was 9 of 10 in the go zone. And really, when Janai wasn't doing it early on, and Janai at the 16:30 mark had 4 points in the game. And he ended up with 17, so he was great down the stretch. But when Janai wasn't getting it done offensively, Cheney Johnson was there. Great for him. That 15-0 run early was part of Denver Jones, who was 4 of 6 in the first half from three. He had 14 in the first half, 21 from the game. And when you shoot the ball like you do against Florida at home on the road in a weird ass gym, you want somebody to hit some shots early on, and Denver was able to do that.
Yeah, and he's been struggling. Last game he struggled. He's had a couple down games, and everyone knows what he's capable of doing, but he hasn't looked great. He didn't look great during the Florida game. He didn't I mean, he's been on a little bit of a dry spell, but he's back. I think he and Chaney both would deserve a game ball if I were to give one out tonight, just because it matters that you need guys to step up when the rest of the team is struggling. And the fact that it wasn't Janai, the fact that it wasn't Chad, and those guys that you would typically think would be the ones to step up speaks to the depth of the team. And I think should instill more confidence in this team that, hey, if I'm not shooting, there is a receipt long list of guys that I'm confident will pick up the slack.
Yeah, I like that. Receipt long. Good line for you. Did you think of that while you were sleeping over the last couple of days? That's a good line. Put a little note. I like that. Receipt long. Um, when it was 47-45 Vandy, and we'll get to your comments in a second, but when it was 47-45 Vandy and Auburn went on that 12-2 run, um, before that, when it was 15-0 to 47-45 Vandy, I was getting a little concerned that Vandy was getting to the ball, to the loose balls, to the points for rebounds, to every spot. They felt like for a moment there from 15-0 to Vandy up 47-45, it felt like they were beating Auburn on hustle points. And that concerned me. And then from 47-45, that 12-2 run on, Auburn wins the game. For that brief moment of time, where you're a little concerned that they were just getting out more physical and more hustle points for Vandy, and you wanted something to wake them up, and it ended up being Cheney Johnson, I think.
Yeah, they did not look like themselves. I'll reiterate what I said a couple of minutes ago. They just didn't look like themselves. They seemed to be stuck in the mud a little bit. They were out rebounded 29 37 on the night. Vandy had 21 second chance points, and those are things that I think are uncharacteristic of this Auburn team. They've played incredible defense throughout the season, and they didn't look like themselves. And yeah, I was a little bit concerned. They looked like they were moving in slow motion. Chad didn't have a great game. Janai wasn't playing great early on, and I was a little bit concerned. But then, like you said, you have those guys step up, and I think that that reignited the energy, that reignited the confidence. I think they started playing more free. They started having fun, and you can't expect any team to look like the number one team in the country for 40 minutes every single game, but it didn't. They were getting beat on effort plays, which is not like this team.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I was a little bit concerned, but then once they started going on a couple runs late in the game, they started to look a little bit more like themselves.
Um, Physical Vandy, and then Auburn pushes them around. The comments here, I just want to make one more point. I'm not worried about Miles Kelly because he's usually great on the road going into Tuscaloosa this weekend. I'm sure he'll bounce back, but he was only 1 of 5 shooting tonight from the floor, and it was a 3-pointer early. But Chad Baker-Mazara, 0 of 6. It was 0 points tonight, and he didn't have a great game against Florida either. He's banged up a little bit, says Bruce. That's why Chris Moore got the start. Chad Baker came off the bench. Concern level on where Chad Baker-Mazara is since getting that, personal foul, flagrant foul out of the Oklahoma game we were at, the Florida game this past week, and now this. Not trying to make a big deal out of anything, just he hasn't looked himself the last 2 games. Maybe it's the injury that Bruce mentioned yesterday that had him coming off the bench tonight. But for Auburn to be where Auburn needs to be a national champion or SEC champion, you need full 100% Chad Baker-Mazara doing Chad Baker-Mazara things, in my opinion. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think that he plays a vital part in this team's success. I think that he's had a big role in them having the success that they've had this season, and he's very important moving forward. I don't think that his lack of production has anything to do with the flagrant personal foul situation that happened a couple games ago.
Yeah, I
From
don't
what
either
I'm
personally. It was sort of I was using that as a mile marker from that point on. It hasn't been the usual Chad Baker-Mazara. It probably has nothing to do with it. I was just using that as a landmark from that point on.
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned. I think from what I'm hearing is I think that he is pretty banged up. And when you think about, I mean, there are players on every team that are going to try and get him riled up. He has a target on his back that will wear on your body when you're getting beat up every time you have the ball in your hands. And then he took a pretty hard hit towards the end of the Florida game. I think that he's banged up. I think it's exactly what Bruce said. And I mean, hopefully it'll help. The fact that they had a Tuesday night game and not a Wednesday night game will help. He has Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to try and get his feet back under him. I think that that's the extent of it. I don't think that he's fully healthy.
Chad Baker-Mazara isn't 100% healthy. AU Clay Broom took a lot of time out of the game as well, trying to get healthy for the weekend coming up. Aaron said teams are going to have a hard time figuring out this team down the stretch. Anyone can get hot at any point. You see Denver tonight and Cheney Johnson. I love um, the broadcast crew tonight. And why does I said his name a few moments ago. Why does his name slip my mind? He used to play at Auburn. Fishback. I love Fishback making a great point. When Pettiford's at the point, he does so many things good offensively, and it seemed to almost help Denver a little bit in his shooting. at times. So that's something to look at down the stretch. I really love that. Well, Jeff says Broom is the one that gets fouled on and about every post up and shot. He is beat up. So yeah, Jeff, you're right. He does roll through a lot of contact,
Yeah.
as most big men do in basketball. But Janai seems to be getting a lot of it throughout this SEC season. Go ahead. You were going to make a point about something else?
Yeah, I was about to say, Chad's not the only one getting beat up. Just about everyone on the team is.
Yeah. Auburn played well, says Ethan right
Ugh.
there.
At
Um,
times.
yeah, I saw Jeff earlier said they didn't play well. Forster says weird game, was worried going in, then thought Auburn was going to win by 70, then concerned they'd lose, and then they goes to the finish. We call that a roller coaster, don't we? That's a bunch of emotions right there.
Yeah.
Dave says Broom seems to be favoring that angle most of the game. Not sure if changes shoes made him feel better. Even the shoe change there in the middle. Sometimes you put a little comfort in there that helps the compression. I've seen that with ankle injuries in the past. Hunter says good bounce back game. Denver looked confident again. Chaney stepped up in a big way there. Man, if Miles Kelly would just make one layup. Again, I say this every week. It looks so easy on TV, finishing at the rim in the SEC when there's a lot of contact up there. Nicole, love to see Taylor make the bounce back from the flu to give us this show tonight. From Nicole right there, giving you the standing O, Taylor, bouncing back tonight
Happy
there.
to be here, Nicole.
Yeah. Comment real quickly, and we're only going to be here for a few more moments. Alabama is tipped, and we'll do a short post after the Alabama game as well. But Auburn North, talked about that on the air today with Stephen Pearl, and the Greater Nashville Auburn Club showed up big again tonight. There were moments, and people always make fun of me when I say this, but again, there were moments tonight in Memorial Gymnasium in Vanderbilt where it sounded like there were more Auburn fans than there were Vandy fans. Did you hear that on your TV?
Yes, I did. And Auburn fans do a great job of traveling. It was the South Carolina game. Yeah, it was because it was Nick Pringle that made the comment. But Nick, like home players that are playing on their home court are saying it was a rough environment or it was a hostile environment when they were shooting free throws. So Auburn fans do an incredible job of traveling in Nashville. For fans that live in North Alabama, Nashville, not a horrible drive. And it's probably cheaper to make the drive some of these places and get a ticket than it would be to watch them play in Auburn. So I think people are just taking advantage of the opportunities they have. And we got a super chat that I want to, I don't know if you saw that, Dunaway, but I want to make sure that we hit on that.
About what?
So we got a super chat. And so I wanted
Oh,
to make sure that we, from Quinn Thomas, we controlled most of that game, take a double-digit road win any day of the week. And I agree. There were times that they didn't look great, and I'm gonna tell myself what I was speaking to the chat earlier. You can't expect any team to look great or look elite for 40 minutes every single game. I mean, these teams are playing 30 plus games a season. You're gonna have some downtime. They just didn't look themselves. But yeah, I'll take a double digit road win any day of the week as well, especially over a team that beat both Tennessee and Kentucky on their home court. It is a weird place to play. And Vanderbilt's a good basketball team. So yeah, I will take it as well.
you got 17% shooting from 3-point land in their own gymnasium tonight from Vandy. They were 3 of 17. And that was another point I was going to make about this Auburn team was the defense that you got from Auburn in the second half. I thought that was a much improved over what you got from Florida on Saturday. So Auburn has done their part to get to the weekend without another loss to make it a one-loss Auburn team going into Tuscaloosa. Alabama, Lance, I don't know if you heard on the show today, Lance seems to think Alabama is not going to escape Austin tonight. He thinks a lot of signs point to Texas pulling the upset this evening. We will be back right after that tonight. You're going to be with me after that? You're going to join
Yep.
me again? You're going to suck it up here? Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. How about that? So Get hydrated. Can we get an IV into Taylor? Get something ready to go. I was joking with your mom today. I didn't want to bug you. I said, "Any update?" She's doing better, and I said, "Should I take her candy, flowers, whiskey?" And she said, "Maybe the whiskey. Hold on that. She may need a shot of that before it's said and done." So you sound better. You actually sound better than you did Saturday night. So maybe you're on the come up, as we used to say. Taylor, thank you. Thank all of you guys for being in the chat. Auburn wins it 80-68. On to Tuscaloosa for them. If you missed Stephen Pearl on the show with us today, you get him wherever you can get that interview. Always interesting stuff there. Wherever you get our podcast, he's with us every Tuesday. Stephen Pearl is Apple and Spotify for audio, YouTube, and all the other platforms for the video there. Auburn now 22-2, 10-1 in the SEC. First place in the SEC, waiting to see if Alabama can tie them against Texas tonight, and then off to game day in Tuscaloosa for the Tigers and Tide this weekend. We'll see you after the Alabama game, everybody.